So, um, I guess I'm live. So, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that I'm uh, uploaded the Capricorn Ascendant. The secrets of Capricorn Ascendant on KRS vlogs. We'll be doing Aquarius either today or tomorrow, and then Pisces, and then we're gonna go into the second layer of predicting through these ascendants. And then there's a third layer to that. So I'll be doing that on KRS vlogs, including I know the Vastu course is delayed and I gotta find time. But anyhow, let's talk about the second part to Rahu and big wealth because many of you had a lot of questions. And you know what? It's unending questions because there's such depth to it that I mean, yeah, the more I would say the more questions the merrier. But the thing is it's like expanding like the universe. So on the part 2, you know, I still want to kind of regurgitate the essence of Rahu, but the one thing you will understand, and not one thing you will understand, you need to understand, you need to know this. I don't know if any other person has said this, and if they have, they're the greatest, you know, and I'm sure somebody must have said this, but Rahu is the hardest planet to understand. The prediction of Rahu will be the hardest to understand for most astrologers. Why is that? Okay, and then I am going to be, taking some of your alignments as well with this Rahu. But first of all, the reason why Rahu is the hardest planet to understand because Rahu broke the bondage of Maya, right? When the Samudramanthan was happening, the Asuras were being distracted by Maya, the dance of Maya. Who was the only person that was aware of that and broke the shackles of Maya to sit between sun and moon for the Soma? Right? And remember, Soma it's part of the eternal life, right? What it simply means, and this is why you will see why people are connecting fame and legacy with Rahu is because Soma makes you not die. That means you are going to be remembered as long as the humanity is alive. Einstein will not be forgotten for the next million years if humanity somehow makes it. He's living. That's the Soma. That's the Rahu, right? Including Venus also, because Venus is Sanjeevani. It brings you alive from dead. So, what is the concept of being alive from dead? Is that you are remembered. Like, and this is a something I will probably share in due time. That you will see some people, some celebrities, some politicians, and scientific figures are remembered after they're dead. Something happened, and they're like, "Oh, this person did this. Oh, we remember. Oh my God, we should have given this person credit." Like for example, Van Gogh. Van Gogh, the greatest artist, was only remembered after he died. And why is it that? Because you can see the dasha sequence after their death. So even if you look at somebody's chart, look at what dasha has been progressing after they're gone with the yogas. Now, coming back to Rahu, as I said, Rahu broke the shackles of Maya. That means Rahu's like, I am outside of this, right? Like, for example, we every Asura is inside this, Rahu's outside of this. So what does this tell you? We are all caught up by Maya. The five senses of Maya keeps us engrossed, and boy, it's hard to break off of it. That means if we're trying to understand somebody who's outside of this boundaries of Maya, how much can we understand about that individual or that thing? It's like trying to understand a black hole from, you know, 18 light years away or a half a million light years away. You can only do so much. Unless you're there, unless you're inside of the black hole, you cannot understand a black hole. Same thing with Rahu. This is why Rahu is the hardest planet to understand, because Rahu broke the shackles. Have you or I broken the shackles? No. So who breaks the shackles to understand Rahu is the one who actually does spiritual practices. So this is why it becomes so important to do the spiritual penance, to do the spiritual uh, you know work within yourself to start understanding Rahu. And I'm making this now for the first time after a long time, right? I've never talked about this. Why have I not talked about this? Because once I started doing my spiritual practice of Kriya Yoga, once I started, when I did the mantra, see, Kriya Yoga activated a lot of things for me. Suddenly I'm like got into mantras. Once I started doing this, then I started understanding these little things that we all miss. You see, and this is why it is important for me to be a failure and fail, because this way you get to understand from my failures what you should not be doing or what you should be doing. Now, what is that one thing that makes you understand Rahu? See, transit, every planet we know with transits. Jupiter is in Pisces, will move into Aries for 1 year. Moon is there for 2 days, right? So all the grahas, which moves, the planet, have this set time. Rahu's 18 months, Ketu's 18 months. But one thing you have to understand with Rahu, the way Rahu is created is through eclipsing of the sun and moon, right? That's the shortest time period where you actually get to experience the physical self of Rahu, right? Shortest time. That means, do you think that the birth chart itself can tell us about Rahu? That period of even 2 hours, or the transit of Rahu, which is of 18 months. No, we can't. Where do we have to go for especially Rahu? Other planets, yes, we can decode. Rahu and Ketu, especially not even Ketu, because I mean, you got to understand the concept of the solar and lunar eclipse. Okay, but especially Rahu, you must check the Sastyamsa chart. The D60 chart has to be taken in consideration for Rahu's understanding, because Rahu is so quick. It only shows itself for so many few minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, right? Depending upon how strong the eclipse is. So once you funnel down Rahu's effect, you go and see the D60 chart of how Rahu is to understand what Rahu is doing. So this is very important. Like, to understand Rahu, and people say what? Rahu is the Asura. Rahu is the one who's not spiritual. And yet, in order to understand Rahu, you have to do your spiritual work. Somehow that other perception has to be open. You have to be able to be at the edge of and the boundaries of Maya, at least to come closer to Rahu. So right now, for example, right, we are all in the middle, right? So if you look at this, this is where we are in the middle. This is Rahu. At least go to the edge to get closer to that energy of Rahu, that gravitational force of Rahu. So don't mistake the fact that in order to understand Rahu, you have to become completely opposite to the piousness of spirituality. Okay. Then what is Rahu? Rahu is bondage. Right? Ketu is moksha. Yes. So Mukunda said, but D60 changes so quickly. Exactly. That's the whole point. Because D60 changes so quickly, you must have that accuracy of the time so you can see what the D60 chart is, which changes in 2 to 2.5 minutes, to see exactly where Rahu is positioned, to really understand that short period of Rahu that shows itself in the sky. Okay. But Rahu is bondage because Ketu is moksha. So now try to understand about wealth and Rahu. If a chart is saying that this person is meant to focus on his spiritual life, they're supposed to be focused on spiritual knowledge. They're supposed to be even, not engrossed in material plane. Why would that person then be getting big wealth? Right? So the first thing that happens when you're trying to understand wealth is this person, do they have bondage in this life? Is the bondage there? Because if the bondage is there, then of course you're going to have to fight for your piece of the pie. Because here's the thing, Rahu is, first of all, Rahu is very intelligent. Okay. Rahu is the brain, Rahu is intelligence. This is why, even in certain concepts of astrology, they use the sign of Gemini and Virgo, especially Gemini for Rahu, because Gemini becomes a dual sign. So it has split personality. One is mercurial, the other is Rahurial, I guess you can say. Virgo is the highest of intelligence. It took the intelligence of Rahu to break away from the Maya of the Samudra Manthan to go and get the Soma. That means it's Rahu has to be really smart. Okay. And I'm gonna go into the discussions of the nakshatras, for Rahu, what I have seen, not from celebrities or politicians or tech giants. It's just regular people that have come with me who, let's say, are in Mumbai and they're running 100 crore factory or a 20 crore factory, a family business. Money is there. What is that? Right. So we're going to be discussing that. Now, the other thing that you have to understand about Rahu. So again, you have to see the chart. If the chart has a spiritual yoga activated, okay, by dasha, why would then bondage be there when the whole thing is saying that no, you have to detach yourself from bondage? Sometimes there's duality of that. Duality. So in your birth chart shows that this person needs to work in this time period. They have to engross themselves with the world. In Navamsha, it'll show a spiritual side. So what's happening is there's happening this mix of two. That means this person will want to have money, will want to have wealth, but they're not so headstruck like Rahu is that I have to get this. Right? So they're okay with whatever the average money that they're making. They're able to pay their mortgage, pay their car payments, all their cell phone, internet bills, save a little bit of money. Okay, that's fine. Because that thing is being activated in the Navamsha with the Dasha. So it becomes important to understand these concept of also divisional chart. That is this person feeling just like I have to do this and I don't really want to do this, because internally in the Navamsha will show, the heart nature, the heart chakra of every planet. What is their actual internal desire? Okay. And then you also have to see within the chart, is there an inventing part? Okay. Is there a concept of invention? Like, does this person want to invent something, create something new? Because before Rahu, there was no eclipse. With Rahu, eclipse was created. And through that, everything else then started. This is why people who invent things, invest themselves into inventing something new, are the most wealthiest people. Okay. Whether it's a person who's like, I'm tired of going into these malls. I think there needs to be a mall where I can be sitting home and I can shop. Or you know what? I hate going to the gas station or the petrol pump every 3-4 days, and there's so much crowded. I need to I wish there could be something that just does not require me to go to gas station. Invention. So Rahu's nature is to bring something new. You must bring something new in order for that wealth to be created. Okay. Then the other thing we know about Rahu, basic thing we know about Rahu is that Rahu is foreign. But does this mean that simply that Rahu's foreign significance means that you have to go to foreign lands in order to make your big wealth? You are to deal with the foreign place to make your big wealth? No, that's not it. You could, if let's say, for example, back in the days, right there before Tata, it was Tata and Birla, right? All the trucks in India had Tata symbol on it. And now, if let's say Tata never expanded to Europe, UK, US, anywhere else, didn't buy any of these, car manufacturers. If let's say Tata was just in India, they would still be having enough wealth to survive the next 3-4 generation lavishly, if not more. But yes, it got extended. But what Rahu's foreignness simply shows is that if this is the thought process, right? This is the thought process of the society in around you. Okay. This is your thought process. This thing becomes this mic becomes your thought process. You're outside of the thought process of society. That is the foreignness, the first significance of Rahu's foreign quality, that a person has to think outside of this Maya. Remember, here's all the asuras, like engrossed into the beauty of that Vishnu. And now here's the person who is saying that there's something wrong with this picture. This is why the one who does critical thinking, the one who thinks, like they say, outside the box, you have to have that foreign thinking away from the group that you're in order for you to expand and change something, right? To poke something so something changes. That has to be there. That is Rahu. So Rahu does not mean that big wealth has to come through foreign lands. Because imagine if, let's say, you're in Andhra Pradesh. Let's say in Andhra Pradesh in India, there are 5 million people. Or let's say even not even 5 million. Let's say there's 15 to 20 million people in Andhra Pradesh. Imagine you were selling soaps. You're selling soaps just in Andhra Pradesh. Forget the entire India even. If out of those 15 million people or 20 million people, 8 million people were buying your soaps every 6 months, every 4 months, every 3 months, you will live happily. You will live comfortably, right? And this is that thing of Rahu. He's like, I don't need to expand myself to foreign lands. That's not the first thing that Rahu does. Rahu's main focus was to just get that soma. Okay. So it shows that because you thought outside the box, you created a certain soap that was able to do something that other soaps weren't doing. Now you're able to provide that. And then, yes, of course, you expand outside of Andhra Pradesh, you expand outside of India, the entire India, then Europe. Well, then this is how this concept works. So when a person is able to critically think about, see, and I know who said the quote that question everything. Everything in your life you have to question. Because someone has said, in knowledge, okay, knowledge and degree does not equal intelligence or wisdom at all. And we have seen that now. So Rahu is that wisdom and intelligence that is outside of that master's degree you have. You have to break away from your cocoon in order to make things happen. That's the first foreignness. Then, yes, Rahu will show everything that is not in society or is accepted in society is foreign. So that's also Rahu. besides just your thoughts. Okay. And Rahu, okay, because of the fact, remember, so understand the original concept. Rahu was next to Sun and Moon, okay, sitting next to the two luminaries before it got caught. So here's the concept. Next to Rahu becomes second from Rahu, left from Rahu becomes 12th from Rahu. The planets that are surrounding Rahu will be a very important key to what your manifestation is going to be. How your bondage is going to be manifested in this life is going to be connected with those planets first and foremost. Because we say that look at the dispositor of Rahu, the sign that Rahu is placed in. That it would be a secondary thing. The first thing you want to see, who is Rahu being influenced by? Is Saturn next to Rahu? Is Saturn with Rahu? Is Saturn before Rahu? Or is Saturn next to Rahu? If Saturn is before Rahu, shows this person has struggled enough in their past life to get things in their life with delay, okay? To get things in life by serving, doing the service. But now let's say Rahu, next to Rahu is Venus. So now it shows that this person, because they have experienced Saturn in the past, right? Now this Rahu is moving towards Venus, which means through marriage, through women, women related things, working with women. Okay. This is how Rahu is going to be manifesting its bondage in this life. That means if, let's say, Rahu does have Venus, next to it, you're going to see this person when they understand. And this is, again, this doesn't mean as soon as they're born. The dasha has to be seen. But see, right next to Rahu is Venus, who's actually the guru of Rahu. So Rahu is going to follow into the steps of Venus, Shukra. So here you will see that a person naturally will be easily able to manifest wealth. And they will work hard because their subconscious, the 12th from Rahu, the past, is connected with Saturn's hard work. They already know, in order for me to achieve this, I have to work hard, but little bit of work will take this person 10 steps ahead. Where someone, let's say you have a certain Rahu, okay, which we'll get into later, you're working this much and then you're getting this much results. So see that different concept. And this is why you will see with Rahu in the having Venus higher degree than Rahu or second to Rahu, you will see that whenever this person starts to do anything related to marketing, sales, business, negotiations, and then of course, and marketing simply means when they themselves become the product, the wealth comes in, which is why then it connects with media, because Venus rules which original house in the chronological order of zodiac signs. Libra. What is Libra? The seventh house, the public life. So one has to manifest something publicly in order to get that wealth, and they will. Now, yes, if Rahu is conjunct Venus, there are other things that we see with the spouse, especially in a man's chart. The wife would be very, very demanding. Wife would require that luxury, that bondage. Wife is fully engrossed in bondage. So yeah, what happens is when you have Rahu and Venus together, this person will marry somebody who's going to make them like, no, you have to make this money. I want to live in that high rise. I want to live in that, 6 crore home. So there's that situation that come about. But that's a different thing. Because then in that case, the avastha, the tattva of Venus matters. The tattva of the zodiac sign matters. But see, and then especially if, let's say, you know, if you reverse, let's say Venus was 12th from Rahu, Saturn is next to Rahu, right? Because remember, we are using the concept of sun and moon being next to Rahu. Rahu was around things when this was happening. And it's not even sun and moon, other grahas were sitting in that line, that row. This is why Rahu will always take on influences of many things in a chart, not just one single thing of the sign. That's where we miss most of the things. But if, let's say, Venus was in 12th from Rahu, one benefited heavily from luxury, comfort, women, spouse. Okay, and this is something that they're bringing as a goal in this life to achieve, because that's the easiest thing for them. Because anything that you have experienced in the past becomes very easy, very easy to understand, right? And something that you have to learn in this life becomes the hardest. Because if, let's say, I don't know anything about programming, okay, and you tell me, okay, now go and learn to program, learn to code. I'm like, okay, what is this? I don't know. And it's going to take me 6 months just to manifest, some basic website concept, just the mere basic. So what happens is this person has the idea of what they have experienced. Now Saturn says, well, I'm sorry. Things don't just come easy to you. You're going to have to work your tail off in order to get that thing that you experienced previously. So Saturn's like, do you want that? You see that Venus 12th from you, or Venus lower degree than you? Do you want that? Yes, I want that. Anybody would want it, especially if the horoscope, the chart shows bondage. But then Saturn will be like, okay, I'm going to give you things, but you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be frustrated, see the delay. If you're not frustrated with me being next to you, forget it. Sorry, Rahu. Maybe good luck next time. Talk to Yama after death. See if he can give you a better alignment. My job is not that. I'm blind. I'm just sitting next to you. I'm going to show you. You're going to have to go through my door. So if you have Rahu second to your, or I'm sorry, if you have Saturn second to your Rahu, okay, and there's other house placement that does the same thing. But when you have Saturn next to your Rahu, okay, you can't just be doing like work. Let's say you want to create something new. You have a job 9 to 5, and then you come back from 7 to 8. Maybe you work. Maybe once a week you're working on that thing, because you're just like, okay, I'll just wait and see when this will happen, and you're just focus on your work. No, until you go from 9 to 5 at your work, and from 6 to 12 at the thing in your private life to manifest, only then things will come. Okay, only then things will come. Because remember, and then bondage is very important. Don't What is bondage? Bondage doesn't mean you're attached to something. That's one of the concepts of bondage. That I am, this is, you have a bondage with the spouse, right? No, bondage is something that is sticking to you. And it says, I cannot leave you. That's the bondage is Maya. I said, I cannot leave you. It's my job to not leave you. Because Rahu is bondage. Jupiter might be you, the Jiva. Moon might be the mind and your past life, hard drive. Sun is the soul that you're here to burn the karmas. But how are they going to be burned? How is any of these things are going to manifest? It's going to manifest through when you're attached to bondage, because now you're in this biomechanical suit of the body. Otherwise, this is why we have pending karma, right? In my pending karma, you would hear me say that if you don't have pending karma, you'll be in the astral and causal plane. So this is why it's important to see what your bondage is in this life, through which the manifestation, the soma will be achieved. See, Jupiter is the significator of wealth, but it represents dharmic wealth, dharmic education, your dharma of towards God, and dharma towards society. This is why the significator of those four houses, okay, is that dharmic wealth you get. What is dharmic wealth? For a saint, sant, fakir, right? The beggar, the spiritual beggar, you give them a roti with laddu on top. That's their Jupiter wealth. That's dharmic wealth. They are getting this amazing thing that they can give to their body. Now, if that same fakir, besides just the roti and that one laddu, wants a pizza, right? Wants shahi paneer, wants an iPhone. Well, now forget Jupiter. You're going to have to be going towards the bondage of Rahu. This is why Rahu co-rules the sign of Aquarius, which is naturally represents technology, Wi-Fi, all the scientific innovations that makes our life comfortable, right? How comfortable is our life right now? Like, for example, I can take my phone and order my groceries, get my food delivered. I mean, how amazing is that? I can have something be delivered here within the next 20 minutes to an hour because the Amazon headquarters is right next to my house. You want that? That's Rahu. But if you want to go buy yourself dal chawal, you get in the car or you take your bicycle, you go to a grocery store, you get that basic necessities, which is Jupiter. The dharmic necessities is Jupiter. So even the see again, this is why we have to understand how do the understanding comes in. I've made my short video just last week. Do the mantras, do the mantras, do the spiritual, practices for you to really understand what is happening, what is happening around you, what is happening with this world of Jyotish. Right. So, for example, the bondage which will tell you in the birth chart how things are going to manifest with wealth. So if let's say Mars, right, is around Rahu, it's with Rahu. Well, somehow a technical skill, somehow you're going to have to improve something in society through technology in order for you to get the result of that bondage, that gift from the bondage. Bondage says, yeah, you'll be attached, you'll have all these desires, that's my job. Now, if you want something from my vending machines of my Maya, well, then do what the bondage is wanting you to do, the surrounding planet. So if Mars is there, either a person will have to do something with technology, engineering, development of land, real estate. Like I've seen real estate developers. And here's a problem. I downloaded the OBS software and I tried to do the sharing of the chart. I guess they have updated their software. I couldn't understand it. But let me see here. See, I wish I could just share some of these charts that I have. Like I have this chart of a person born in 87, you know, October 87. And they have Rahu in Pisces with Jupiter. So I'm looking at my software right now. Rahu is at 8 degrees. Jupiter is at 28 degrees. Okay. So what happened with this particular person's chart? Well, Jupiter is having that bondage with Rahu, right? What is Jupiter? Jupiter will naturally represents what we know about Jupiter. Guru, dharma, dharmic things, teacher, advisor, manager, consultant, okay? Banking, wealth. It's that management because remember it's like the book Artha Shastra is the significant, it has the soul of Jupiter in it. And so this person opened up his consulting firm and they opened up a school. They opened up the school teaching people things related to technology. So you see how, and now, of course, I learned this after seeing all these charts that I have saved, after seeing some of these concepts, and then going back. Like, okay, let's see what's happening with surrounding Rahu. And this is where you see that because Jupiter was ahead of Rahu was like, my bondage is now with Jupiter. So you will see either this person will have to teach. The Maya is going to be like, I'm going to make you teach, or I'm going to make you go into banking, or I'm going to make you go into consulting. Okay. I'm going to make you deal with, even priests or dharmic places. You will not like it, but you will have to do it. You'll have to serve to these things. But if you just understand the bondage, and this person did that. Let me see in my notes. Chart notes, general notes. I don't have that. I don't have any notes on here. Okay. Well, I know it was around 2011 or 12. Before that, they were just like doing their thing. They were, doing their work. And only once that right timing came in, okay, that's when they're like, okay, I have so much of experience in my life. Why don't I just do this now? So you see, you don't need astrology really to understand if you're going to get wealth or not. This person did that before they got a reading from you or met any other astrologer. Things manifest. I'm sorry, you don't need Vedic astrology or somebody to tell you about these things, that this is how you're going to make wealth. No, the one who's going to make wealth right now, as I speak to you, somebody's just got an idea 2 hours ago, and now they're working on it, and that's probably going to become a $5 billion idea in the next 6 months. So this is how these things work. And then see, Jupiter, let's say Jupiter was right next to Rahu, right? Jupiter itself is expansion. Rahu is explosion. Something just expands in 1 second. Jupiter is like that balloon which you have to fill air in, and it slowly is expanding. It's still not taking that long, but it's expanding. And this is where you will see that manifestation of two things that expand coming together. And one is wanting to manifest something in Maya. And the other is like, whomever I am with, I need to expand that. So you will see that person, they have this highest of vision that I want to create this thing big. And I believe there was Pisces sign, right? Yeah, Pisces sign. And of course, this person had Saturn ninth from Rahu. Okay. Maybe you're watching me right now. Jupiter, Rahu in Pisces, Saturn in Scorpio. Okay, Moon in Capricorn. Actually, Moon just entered Capricorn maybe like an hour ago, or hour before their birth. But because now, if you see the whole thing, Saturn goes ninth from Rahu. I'm just looking at this chart, the one that I've saved. Saturn is ninth from Rahu. Saturn is the karma, right? What is my karma? Karma does not mean career. Please understand that karma just became career in the last 200 years, 300, 400, even 500 years, you can say. Like, what are you doing? Are you a blacksmith? Are you a farmer? Are you a teacher? Right? Those are the karma. But before, like, what is it that this person has to do in this life to burn off the karmas? It shows, see, every planet, the reason why it's here, it shows something pending. It's not just your 6th, 8th, and 12th house, which is pending. Every planet is showing what is pending with what. Like Venus will show what is pending with your bondage with another person. Rahu shows your bondage with this entire thing. That's the difference. Venus shows bondage with another individual. So Saturn says, what is your bondage now with karma and work? And then use the same concept that I've just taught with Rahu and uh, with Rahu. So Saturn was ninth from Rahu. The bondage, Rahu, and then karma was ninth from itself. And from Saturn, Rahu was fifth from itself with Jupiter. Fifth from any house becomes the child of that house. Okay. And Rahu, remember, has that aspect, 5-9 aspect. So Rahu is now taking the energy of Saturn. Rahu is saying that whatever you are, I'm going to take this. Because remember, Rahu eclipses the sun. So this is why the fifth and ninth aspect of Rahu will show the energy that it absorbs. And because it was ninth from Rahu, says somehow your karma is going to have your bondage in this life with karma, not just bondage. Listen to what I'm saying carefully. Your bondage in this life with karma has something to do with the ninth place energy, which is consulting, counseling, advising, foreign travels, teaching. So, of course, this person is in foreign lands and they had a consulting firm. Consulting, you're advising, you're teaching. And then you also have a school. If you look, especially with Rahu, let's say, for example, and I think I saw that somewhere in the comments, Moon and Rahu and Mercury, right? Let's say Moon is 12th from Rahu, or Moon is having a lower degree than Rahu. Mercury is having higher degree than Rahu. And for example, let's say this Rahu is in the nakshatra of Ashlesha in Cancer. Or let's say this person is in the nakshatra of Chitra, this Rahu. You can clearly see this person wants to do business related to accessories, gems, anything that provides a aspect of beauty, aspect of changing something through, let's say, some chemical product like cosmetics, but they want to do business with other people. Here, because Rahu's past is definitely showing that one has nourished people. Your bondage in the past life was nourishing and taking care of people somehow. Okay. Whether you were a cook, whether you were a nurse, whether you were, the milkman, whatever it is, you were nourishment. So now the subconsciousness of the bondage will show that, okay, I need to somehow provide some nourishment to people. Mercury is ahead of Rahu. Mercury is the natural significance of trade and skills. So Rahu develops the skills of marketing, sales. Rahu develops the skills of communication. And Mercury and Moon naturally represents business and trade. So you will see this person will become trades of goods related to chemical products or products that are related to decors and beautifying something, like especially even home decor. And of course, this person, and depending upon, let's say, for example, whether it's Ashlesha, Chitra, okay, Ardra as well, Satabhishak, you will also see these people be in somehow work related to dealing with AI, cybersecurity. But see here, manifestation of Rahu, and I'm talking, and again, this whole subject is about big wealth. It's not about smaller wealth where you're struggling through Ashra. This is wealth that you're happy, you're comfortable. You're happy. Yes, you got your Mercedes Benz, you're driving a BMW. Fine, you don't need to drive a Rolls Royce. That's a whole another concept. But I want you to drive a BMW. I want you to drive a Mercedes. That's this whole concept. So knowing this, we can see that this person would engage into somehow making people feel beautiful through their marketing and sales experience. If they're in technology, they will create a technology for a certain company that provides these particular things. This is where Rahu will have to go then. If you have, let's say, this conjunction, you're a programmer, because you can find lawyers with this conjunction, okay? Because the whole chart has to be seen. But if you have this and you're a programmer, you want to do your own business, well, contact any chemical cosmetic company, any company that provides any kind of like a nourishment to people or making people feel beautiful. Any company related to exercise said, okay, I'm gonna target these companies to manifest my clientele list as my business of a tech consultant, and you will see those things become manifested much easy, versus if this person's looking for a government contract for their work. This person is simply looking to get other IT companies to give them business, because the manifestation of that bondage, that legacy that you want to leave, is surrounded by this. Okay. And let's say, for example, Saturn, okay, with this particular Mercury, Rahu, Moon conjunction, okay, Saturn, Venus go, or I'm sorry, not Saturn, Venus. Saturn goes into the seventh house from Rahu, where Ketu is. So Saturn is now meeting Ketu. So how do you understand this concept? What the way you're going to understand this concept is that this person, this is how beautifully it's going to work. They're going to be working. Okay. They're going to do their job, whatever job let's say they're in IT, they're doing their IT work. Let's say Saturn was having lower degree than Rahu and Ketu. What now is going to happen with their karma? They're going to hit a halt, a break in their career. They will be whether fired or laid off from work. Okay. Something happens where there's a break now in the career. And once that break comes, it's only after that break the manifestation of this particular business idea and event will take place. It will not take place before this person has hit a concrete wall. This, and it's not a bad thing, it's nothing negative, right? I myself was in real estate and I got fired when this whole market went down in 2008. So in 2010, when it was really, really down to the low, suddenly, boom, one day I'm called into the office and I'm fired. And I thought that was the end of the world for me. I'm like, I have this car payment, I have this, I got to help my mom with the mortgage and all of this. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, I got like $4,000 saved. I'll survive. Let me see something else, what I can do. And from that point onwards, I'm like, okay, that's it. I made a decision. I don't want to work under anybody else anymore. I'll beg on the street. That's when I started my photography business and all of these things. But you see how a break had to come. A break had to come in order for that to happen. So there would be some alignment, right? In the birth or Navamsha for those things to manifest. But you will see that Rahu, the bondage, will always suck that energy from 5 and 9 from itself and 2 and 12 from itself, or 2 and 12 in the same concept as the planet, which is a higher degree from Rahu and lower degree from Rahu. And then you see how the karma has to be manifested. For example, perhaps your wealth comes through land real estate. We see that in the chart, wealth comes through land real estate. But does that mean you have to become a real estate agent? No. You have to become a broker between you and the bank? No. Are you going to go into underwriting, inspection, title? And I know this because I was in all of these, I've done all of these things. No, nothing of this sort. Your money is going to come through by having a real estate development company as your client for your IT software business. Because Mars, let's say, is ahead of Rahu, Mercury is 12th from Rahu, or both are ahead. So it shows in your past life, you're dealing with languages and skills of technology, right? And you have this particular Rahu who's next to Mars, let's say in Dhanishta Nakshatra. Saravana Nakshatra. Or let's say it's happening fourth house from the Lagna. Well, guess what? You're going to use your skills of softwares, skills of technology to manifest this. Why? Why I'm saying this now? Well, look at Saturn now. Saturn is going to be fourth from Rahu. So the karma, your bondage is this. This is your bondage. Now karma becomes Saturn, who's fourth from Rahu, saying, this is how I'm going to be manifesting this bondage. Your karma are to be paid off like this. But what happens is without the proper dasha, or even transit, you can say a person is just doing things, right? Till 29-30, I myself have done all kinds of things. Mortgage, and I was even a janitor in a school. I'm sure you've heard me many times. I've cleaned toilets for a living from the age of 22 to 24. No, actually 21 to 23. I was a janitor. It was one of my favorite jobs because I was left alone after school. And yes, in the middle of the school too, in front of kids, I've picked up trash because I had to make money. I had to do whatever I could. But that was a time that I had to struggle. That was a time that I had to pick up the pieces of my life. But the thing is, when the destiny said, okay, now you can start manifesting all these things, that is your Rahu is bonded with. Okay, fine. Let's do it. So this is how, this understanding of big wealth really happens, because the person who has attained that wealth, and I guess we can't even use the big wealth. I'm not, let's say, talking about you becoming a billionaire, because you can't have everybody become a billionaire. But if everybody can satisfy certain desire in this life, you like, for example, you're waiting for a bus at a bus stop, but you see this Mercedes Benz go past by with some young kid driving, and you're like, I'm 35 years old, I'm taking a bus, why can't I do that? So you being able to pay your monthly payment of that Mercedes Benz, now you are attaining that wealth. This is the whole thing. Okay, and this is why in Vastu, southwest direction becomes the direction of business. And so, of course, I'm going to make the lesson today for the Vastu lessons, which I'll release sometime in a week or 2 weeks on Maga Vedic Astrology Academy. But southwest is the most important direction for business. If you want to be a business person, you want to be the CEO, CFO, your southwest direction better be in the best of shape in your home. And if, let's say, you are renting some place, an office, you have an office, southwest direction of, not of that building, just the office that they have given you. Let's say you are renting a 5-room office for your business. The southwest direction of that office is Rahu. That's where you sit, the kingmaker, the Asura, the King Asura, which is you, the CEO, you sit there. And then so if you're sitting in southwest, exact southwest corner, yours should be facing northeast. So again, I'm not digressing. I guess this is a part of Rahu, but this is where you will start to, because what happens is when you sit there, you're going to see this. If you're an employee, you're going to see this in your office. So if you're going to go to office tomorrow, use your smartphone compass, see where the southwest direction is of your office, see who's sitting there. And if it's not the manager or the boss, when you go talk to that person, you will see there's going to be a bit of an arrogance, an attitude with that person. Why? Because now they're manifesting the energy of the manager and the boss. They feel like they're the boss. They want to make that decision. And this is where things will go wrong. Why? Because ultimately, if they do show too much of that ego, they're going to get fired, laid off. People will start hating them. Like, who is this person? What do they think they are? They're not even any manager, and they're giving me this attitude. I've experienced this. Of course, back then I wasn't using any smartphone compass because there was no smartphone, back when I was working, and neither anybody cared to carry a compass with them. But if you see what happens with southwest direction, which is Rahu, your prestige, your power, and your authority into the world starts rising. But again, I'm telling you, don't think that you should be tomorrow now switching your desk to Southwest if you're working somewhere. No, that's not how it works. Because if you're an employee, you will be more appreciated if you're in an employee spot, which is, let's say, west direction, northwest direction. Okay. You will see the employee who's in the west direction because it's Saturn shunny. Okay. Who's sitting in the west direction, they will be appreciated the most by the boss. Especially if they're doing their work, they will get the most because now the boss, see, southwest is earth. Earth is creating space, which is the west direction in Vastu. So when the employee becomes the child, southwest, the boss is the authority, they will always appreciate the employee. How many times are you going to be yelling at your child? You're always going to give your child some surprises, take them out, give them cookies, candies, toys, right? So once you understand this concept, I'm telling you, this is something very big and manifesting, I'm telling you, to find your success in life. When you use this concept of grahas and the directions, you will see how to get and manifest what you want. So of course I can explain anything here because I've already spent so much time here, and there's so much more other things to discuss. There was this concept of nakshatras, and then I was supposed to deal with Ketu, and yeah, I don't know if I'll get that. Maybe we'll make part 3 sometime. Okay, but we'll end this today, and just remember, I've uploaded Capricorn up to Capricorn ascendant on predicting without planets on Kare's vlogs, and I'll be uploading the next 2 ascendants, and we'll keep going into the second and third layer on my academy. And I will try to complete the Vastu thing. It's just that I'm so busy, I barely get time to even go and eat something, and I'm hungry, and I still know I have work to do. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for giving your time to me, and spending time here with me today. Hopefully it was in some form of useful, positive way. So anyway, we'll continue this on third part some other time. Thank you.